What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Make It Kustom. Sushi jokes. Haha. Roscoe, chill out. We're just talking to them. It's fine. This episode, we're getting back on the Zephyr. I'm super excited. We got to fill in this panel here. It's going to be a low crown shape. We're going to use the English wheel, and we're going to have to do something also about this bead roll body line or whatever we're going to do with it to make that happen. So don't forget to like, click subscribe, hit notifications. Let's get into it. All right, so this is where we're at on the Zephyr right now. Last time we did work on it, we got both these doors opening suicide. You know, the inner structure of both doors is cut apart. It's not held together yet, so that's kind of for a later video. But what I'd like to do today is make a panel to fill in that section of the rear quarter. A lot of people are asking if the wheelbase on this car is the same when it's a coupe, because I know it looks like there's a lot of space here. Actually, coupes are the exact same wheelbase as a 4-door, as a 2-door sedan. Zephyrs use the same wheelbase for all those basic models. Obviously the limos and stuff like that, those were longer. This is just like, that's what makes the Zephyr so cool, is it's just super, super long. Everything's long about it. Huge trunk, huge catwalk section before it jumps up. Like the area between the end of the trunk lid and where the roof starts is actually like pretty big. And so there's a big spot here as well. So what I'm gonna do to start off is I'm going to just try this shape out on the English wheel. And basically for me, I'm learning. I'm not by any means a professional, classically trained metal shaper. So I am learning like you guys. I go on YouTube, I watch people's videos, I try and get as much information as I can. So I do know the basics, but I am still learning. So take everything in this video with a grain of salt. And I know that there are people watching that are professional metal shapers that I've talked to, and I appreciate their feedback. So if there's anything that you want to add to this video in the comments, you know, I'm sure it'll help. What I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna make a paper template of the area, and I'm going to kind of go through the steps that I use to step up to a low crown panel. Now, when we're talking about something low crown, I just mean like how this is relatively flat. It's not as rounded as something like this. You know, this is a lot more shape in it than a door skin. Like door skins and quarter skins are pretty much the flattest shapes and the lowest crown on a panel. So it's really important that we step up slowly on the shape. So what I'm gonna do is, like I said, make a paper template, and then I'm gonna lay out some squares to show you how I like to slowly creep up on a crown like that. So let's get into it. Okay, we got this kind of roughly laid out as to the panel that I'm gonna cut out. Oh my God. Had to shut the compressor off there. Bad timing. Okay, so I got paper template happening. This is just gonna be a rough one. This is not gonna be the actual panel that I weld in here. I'm gonna do basically a tester panel. And what I mean by that is that there's a few features here, like what the bottom of the door is gonna look like. You know, I wanna flange that nicely. I want to flange the bottom so that it welds to the sill And those things I can add in later. But what I'd like to do is just get the crown of this panel figured out, like learn about the shape and how to get it in there. And I'm not too worried about this being the actual panel because, like I said, there's gonna be a few things. We're also gonna have to put this roll into it, this, you know, bead roll, or whatever we're gonna do with that. That's gonna be a tricky thing. So this is gonna be a tester panel because likely we're not gonna nail it the first time. We've got to compensate and know exactly how much material is taken up by that shape that we're gonna put into it, as well as make sure that we know how to get the shape that we want out of the crown of the panel. So what I'm gonna do now is gonna transfer this to a piece of 18 gauge sheet metal. You know, this is likely a 19 gauge car. Well, it is a 19 gauge car, but you know, 18 gauge is what I can get here. Some guys use 20, I like using 18. So I'm gonna do that now, cut this out, and then we're gonna lay it out for the English wheel and just start trying to get our crown in there step by step. You on? We got Christina in the house. We actually have a camera woman right now. It really helps having her here for this part because we're gonna start wheeling this piece. But before we do, we are gonna clean it because that's what you gotta do. Basically, with an English wheel, if there's a bunch of dirt on your panel, it'll collect on the wheel, it'll make these little lumps on the wheel, these tiny little lumps, and then as you're wheeling through, those little lumps will roll through and dent the panel. So I'm just gonna give this a little quick wipe. This is the wrong bottle. This is actually just the same purple stuff that I always use. It's just the bottle I got it in. Purple Power or whatever it's called, super clean. Yeah, super clean. Makes it super clean. All right, I actually gotta wipe the wheels too. Okay, good enough. So what I want to show you first, let's have a look at our piece on the car. So that's the filler. And because it's got to curve two ways, I just want to show you how much shape is even in a panel. It looks like it's kind of flat. It's really not. So there's a curve going this way. Christina, actually, if you come to this side, we'll just look at this curve here. I can push this curve onto the car, and that's just a two-dimensional curve, right? This panel's totally flat, doesn't have any shape in it. So if I put this curve in this way, there's zero curve in it this way. And I can show you that with our radius gauge. So if I put this radius gauge on the car, like that, and if Christina comes over and looks down on this panel, you're gonna see how flat and how much shape we have to put into it. There's like probably almost 3/4 of an inch right in here, right? That's the shape we've got to get into the panel. So best way I can explain that is when you're using an English wheel, it's stretching the material because it's squishing the metal together. We're squishing it, it's almost like you're rolling out dough to make a pizza. You're squishing it so that it's spreading out and creating more surface area of metal. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna leave the edges. We're not gonna wanna stretch the edges at all. And the reason being is that if you can imagine it, if I was to English wheel and stretch evenly this entire panel, it would still be flat because everything would be stretched completely evenly. So if I want the center to grow out a little bit, I've got to make sure that I leave the outside frame of the material without any stretches in it. So I can stretch the inside, and the only place it has to go is out. Again, for us to do that, if I have a frame of a panel, say Sharpied out, and we're gonna do that, we're gonna put a Sharpie line around the frame, and if I was to stretch evenly the whole panel up into our frame edge, it stretched it and it's gonna bring it out, but it's still gonna be flat in the center. We've gotta step our stretches so that it creates that rounded profile. So what I'm trying to say is that there's gonna be more stretching happening in the center of a panel than there is towards the outside. And that's what we're gonna do. So I'm gonna create that frame. And like I said, I'm not an expert at this. This might not be the way everybody does it. This is kind of the way that I'm learning and trying to figure it out. So I'm gonna create my frame with a Sharpie, mark that out, and we're gonna slowly start stretching this panel with the English wheel by doing light passes across the whole panel, stepping towards the inside so that there's more passes traversing the inside of the panel than there is towards the outside. This is just a guide, you know, like it's not really, like I don't really put an accurate, exact amount of frame on it, you know, 3/4 of an inch to an inch. This allows me to at least see the edges, you know. So I will be careful not to wheel past my Sharpie line. I don't want too much pressure here. So we're just gonna go across the whole panel and just start our stretch. So there's our first pass. You can already tell that we've got like an oil can in there. That means that we've done some stretching. We can pop it in and out. So we do have a little bit of shape in it. Now I'm gonna go across it kind of like in a crosshatch pattern, and then I'll start building out the center a little bit more. Cross wheeling helps to kind of smooth out your wheel marks. When you wheel all in the same direction, well, you know, I shouldn't say that because I've talked to guys that prefer to wheel their entire panel all in one direction. So really there is a bunch of different ways of doing this. I personally find that going across does help a lot to smooth the panel out. Okay, so next we are gonna do a lot more kind of in the center. So sort of in that kind of an area. Try and bring this up a bit. Right now, this is still a big flat spot, like I said, with the frame and us wheeling the whole thing. It's kind of set the panel up as to which way we're gonna bring the shape out or develop the shape. We're not developing it the other way, we're bringing it out this way. So now, we're gonna wheel in the center and start to bring the center out. I do worry that I may have gone a little hard. It's kind of the thing I really struggle with a flat shape like this is going too hard, too fast off the get-go. Like when I think I'm not adding a ton of pressure, I may have done too many passes or whatever, but we'll have to see. That's why this is the tester panel. Gonna lighten up the wheel a little bit because I'm just trying to smooth it out. What I just did there is I gave the sheet a little bit of a bend so that it's not flopping around. You can manipulate the sheet kind of one way or another so that it's easier to roll and then just bring it back because that shape's going in it regardless. So it just makes it easier. If your sheet is flopping around and kind of bouncing like that, it is possible to get like kind of uneven wheel marks that are little dents created in the sheet. So you want to make sure that you're not kind of doing it too hard. Okay, I wanted to show you on the wheel here, check this out. Those little dots I was talking about where dirt collects, like anything will collect the dirt, so you constantly have to be cleaning your wheels. These are the little dirt dots I was talking about. Thank you. So these are the different layers that I'm gonna be stepping up when I'm wheeling this center part. When you kind of wheel the outside, then you go to the next one, then you go to the next one, you go to the next one, and that way it actually makes a compound curve. Like I was saying before, if you just stretch the whole thing evenly, it's really not getting you anywhere. You have to build that shape or develop that shape by having different steps. So I'm just gonna go to town working on this. We'll throw it on time lapse. We'll be able to see over a bit of time us developing the shape in the center. All right, we've been working on this panel. It's looking pretty good. I mean, I'm a little rusty, and I was never strong at doing this anyway. I had like a little bit of, grief where I was like, oh no, did I mess up this panel? I was kind of worried about it. But we are getting close. There's a little bit of tension in the panel, but it's actually looking pretty good. The one thing I've been doing is checking it with this radius gauge. This is how, remember if you've seen the doors, like we made this radius gauge before we took the car apart, so we have the profile of the body this way, and that helped us make the doors line up nice. So I can put the radius gauge on here, and I can see that I've got almost the exact amount of curve this way that I need. And what I would like to check is this profile. I've got a little bit of tweaking to do in the panel. There's a little bit of stress here, like I want to be able to relax it a little bit. So this is roughed in, basically. Mostly, the whole technique is just, I call them clouds. I heard somebody else call them clouds, not everybody does. But when you're bringing up and developing a shape, like I was saying earlier, it is very important that the center of that crown needs more stretch than the cloud around that and the cloud around that. You know, going outwards, you always need more stretch in the center. If we stretch the whole thing evenly, it wouldn't really go anywhere, it would just get bigger, right? We are getting there. I'll show you I'm gonna grab a straight edge so you can see how much rise we have in the panel. And it does need more work, for sure. And like I said, we're probably not actually gonna use this panel. It's just kind of a learning tool to help me figure out the shape. I definitely did notice that there is more curve in the profile kind of lower down in the body. This is a little bit flatter. This has a little bit more curve. And when it curves in, you know, a little bit more this way and still has a similar profile this way, there's more shape in here. There's more crown. So this is sort of the bottom side of the panel. There's the most crown is here going out. So if I push it right to the ground here, I throw a level on it. We've got about 1.25 inches, about 3/4. So probably I'm holding it wrong. So it's about an inch of crown that we've developed in the sheet. It's coming along pretty good. I'm still trying to figure my way. I definitely made a couple of mistakes. I went back to a couple of YouTube videos that I'm just gonna give a shout out to these guys because this is where I'm learning from. I'm not classically trained in this, so I'm looking towards, you know, I'm looking for people that are more experienced than me in this type of work. Ray Shalene's Pro Shaper Workshop, he's got a great video on English wheel basics. That's what the video is called, is English wheel basics. And he goes over a lot of great information in that video. So we're gonna put that link in the description below, as well as Lazzy Metal Shaping, Lazze Metal Shaping, another great channel for metalworking and this type of thing. Very talented dude, loves to teach and educate on old school metal shaping. So I'm learning from these two guys and among a lot others, but these guys are great. So we're gonna put both those links in the description so that you guys can kind of continue your education that way. Like I said, we're all in this together, trying to learn as much as we can. Keep this metal shaping thing alive. So what I'm gonna do now is I am going to put these panels on. I'm gonna probably drill a couple of clecos in just to help hold the panel in the same spot every time. And then with it held in place, I can really look at it with the radius gauge and make a radius gauge of the vertical profile of the body so that I can make sure that this is developing nice. That's what I'm gonna do right now. Okay, so I've got my radius gauge here. Just a piece of, I think this is 16 gauge, or no, this is probably 14 gauge aluminum. I've marked the body line. Basically, I just used the kick shrinker stretcher and made the arc of that. Pretty easy. Just take your time, make sure it's laying nice and flat. Now we can kind of gauge it all the way along here. Something I noticed right away as we were putting this on is that, like I was saying, there's tension in the panel. So watching Ray Shalene's English Wheel Basics video, this is something that happens to every panel, or so he says, is that you kind of end up with a little bit of like, you know, these waves on the edges. And what that is you basically need to do some more stretching in here. And if I try and hold this, you know, like in between there, like where it's supposed to be, which it's really hard to do because it wants to pop, and I lay the radius gauge on there, you can see a flat spot. Basically what he's saying is that we've done so much wheeling in the center and we're kind of bringing that out, and there isn't enough wheeling in this area. So what he does, he calls it 45ing it. And what he means by that is he's using the wheel on a 45-degree angle and just running along here, just kind of short strokes, maybe kind of like that. And that's just to sort of fade the stretch from the center of the panel into the edges and just stretch out this area a little bit. And the reason why he's using it on a 45-degree angle is so that it doesn't pop out of the wheel easy. If you're going straight in, it's really easy for it to just kind of spit the panel out, and you don't want to run over your edges, so that's a bad thing. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to kind of look at the panel in a few different spots and see where there needs to be more shaping. And I do have to do this 45ing it kind of all the way around the panel to blend this in, and that is going to help release some of the tension that's making my panel pop. So I'm going to work on that a little bit and see how we can get her to fit. But it is looking pretty good. See, I've got that same thing, that little bit of pop in here. We're gonna have to do some of that 45ing it right there. A little bit on the back side as well, right in here. I did kind of this is one of the mistakes I made, is I went over to the kick shrinker and I was trying to shrink the edges because I thought that's what it needed. It's not what it needs. What it needs is that, you know, little bit of stretching to happen along the border to sort of fade out our wheeling from the center. But we are getting a nice curve on it. We're getting there. All right, so we're kind of getting there. We've taken a little bit of that wrinkle Out of here, there's still a little bit, but really not that much. One thing I'm noticing is that there's a little bit more curve up here than I originally thought. And I guess the reason being is that right near this body line, it starts to kind of tip in, preparing for the body line. So that actually is, you know, it does need a bit of shape to get that in there. So this area is still a little bit flat, but most of all, I mean, we're learning about the shape. It's definitely telling us what's going on. So I definitely need to bring a little bit more shape into this area. So I might kind of draw a bit of a cloud, maybe smaller cloud, larger cloud. You know, that kind of area needs a little bit more. And then really most of it is gonna be relieving some of that stress. Like I screwed up and I used the kick shrinker to try and, I think I said that before. I don't know if that screwed me up here. I'm having a little bit of trouble with the amount of tension in here. Like this end of the panel wants to kind of curl in, and I'm not sure exactly how to relieve that, although maybe some of this will relieve some of that. But we are getting there, and our profile gauge is looking pretty good. I mean, check this out. We're, you know, kind of across the doors, right? And we've got a nice curve going in here. Although it is, like I said, a little bit light. So we've got maybe an 1/8 of an inch to 3/16 of an inch that needs to come out of there. So I'm gonna go ahead, pull this off, wheel this area, try and get this a little bit better. And I think we're about there. I mean, yeah, we're getting there. Takes patience, that's for sure. So I know I got a weird looking cloud here, but as I look down on this, I see that it's a little bit flat in this area. So that's why I've got this kind of coming down, because I've got a good amount of shape here, but because I've kind of been jumping all over the place, I guess I don't have enough shape developed there. So yeah, I'm gonna pop this off again, and it's incredible how much shape really needs to be right here. I guess that curve just really needs a lot. Slowly and slowly, it is getting better. I'm amazed at how much shape is actually in that panel. Oh, actually, if I do this, can you see that? I'm trying to point to it. See this shadow right here? That's where I'm talking about, and why my cloud goes down there is because it's got a little bit of a low spot there. So we're gonna bring that up a little bit, bring a little bit more shape out here, see if we can't get the panel as close as we can get it. All right, well, there you have it. We did a bunch of work on the English wheel, and we learned a ton about this shape, and I'm, getting greased up for the real thing. So I've learned, like I said, a lot about this. I'm gonna flip you around. We're just gonna talk about it real quick. So it's roughed in pretty good, but there's a few things that I would like to do to help me make the next panel. One of those things is the bottom has no rest for the sheet metal to orient itself when we cleco it on. Like the body profiles here and here, that's great, but the bottom and the top don't have anything that I can, clamp to or cleco to, because it does matter, like the whole panel changes shape when you move this in and out, and this does need to be out just a slight touch. So we're not getting accurate readings that way. So what I'd like to do is, similar to the radius gauge, I would like to make kind of almost like radius gauges, but I'll shrink and stretch some material like this to go across to bridge it at the top to give us a rest. The same thing at the bottom, maybe even one along the center, because that would be an incredible way to be able to cleco the panel on and then see where it's touching or where it's hitting. It would just give us a little bit more accurate information. So that's one thing I'd like to do. The other thing I'd like to do is, when I built my English wheel, I planned on putting it on casters. Truth be told, I just didn't want to spend the money on really nice, expensive casters, because you kind of want good ones. They have to lock. They have to lock from swiveling and lock from rolling. So they have to be like a double lock swivel. I've just been too lazy to do it all these years. So the level that this is at is a little bit low for me. So I'd love to bring it up. Like, I built the English wheel with that in mind, so the English wheel's a little bit too low. So I'm gonna do that now. I did pick up some casters the other day. They were on sale at Princess Auto that are nice, heavy-duty locking, like double locking casters. So I'm gonna do that. And the other thing I'm gonna do is make myself a table on the other side of the wheel, or some kind of rest, so that the panel doesn't droop so much. The more I keep, brushing up on English wheeling, when you're doing a panel that's low crown, that's kind of slow like that, you don't really want that droop to happen. Like, it's a pretty big panel to hold flat going in and out. So that's the other thing I'm gonna do. I'd like to modify the English wheel to be a little bit user-friendly. I mean, a lot of guys, they'll use two people to go in and out, and hold the panel nice and flat. I'm a solo guy. I just work alone, and to be honest, I don't really like having another person on the other side of the English wheel, because a couple of times I've tried it, who's steering who? I don't know. So because I work alone, I'm gonna build something like that, so that the other side can be held, and it can slide along this piece of Teflon. Actually, I've had this for a while, because I don't remember where I got it. I'm pretty sure it was like a garage sale or something. I was like, oh, well, look at this, black Teflon. I'm not even sure if it's Teflon, but it's slippery plastic that won't hurt sheet metal. So I'm gonna make some kind of table for that, I'm thinking. I'm also gonna make the casters, and then the next time we attack this panel, although I'm pretty happy with that, it's getting there. If I spend another hour or two on it, I think that I could get it even better. But personally, I don't think that there's much point in getting this one better until we make a little bit of a frame, so that we can get it bang on. Like, I'm really trying to push myself here and create as good of a panel as I can. So hopefully you guys enjoyed watching me struggle with the English wheel today. And thanks a lot, everybody, for watching. Really appreciate all the likes, the love, the comments. We love doing this YouTube thing. So, and it's all because you guys watch and appreciate and support us. So much appreciated. And once again, big shout out to Lazzy Metal Shaping and Pro Shaper Workshop, Ray Shalene. I learned a lot from those guys. Ron Covell, another great metal shaper. So if you're interested in learning more about this, those are the guys that I try and learn from, and they're all on YouTube, and it's all free. So don't forget to support all those guys as well. We all need it and appreciate it. So thanks a lot for watching Make It Kustom, everybody. Don't forget to like, click subscribe, hit notifications. We're gonna catch you on the next one. And one more thing, PPS, we are gonna do the channel membership thing. And I just want to let everybody know that it does not change anything. If you don't want to have a membership, you're still gonna get all the videos for free. you're still gonna get every bit of content that we create. It's all just free, right? That's what YouTube's about, sharing knowledge, and we love it. But if for some reason you feel like you're getting so much value from this channel that you would like to support us just a little bit more, there's gonna be a membership opportunity that's gonna give you a little badge on your name when you're commenting, so we'll be able to kind of tell who's a member, who's not. And also, you know, we'll probably give some kind of discount codes for our website if you haven't had any merch yet, if you want t-shirts or hats or that kind of thing. It's just to help kind of build the community and hopefully bring you guys even better content. So thanks a lot once again. We'll catch you on the next one.